If you dread Monday mornings, if you get the Sunday blues, it could be that you are not in a job or in a position that gives you life. Maybe you're overweight, maybe you drink too much, maybe you get high too much because you don't like your job. It's never too late to begin again. What are you doing to grow yourself? Because in any business situation, you'll learn your trade, you'll learn your craft, you'll learn what you're great at, but grow yourself and how you interact with people. Developing yourself helps you develop healthy, functioning relationships. If you're in a relationship right now and there is dysfunction and there's something that you're stuck on, or there is something that you just keep noticing coming up in different relationships, the only person that you have control over changing the behaviors, that is you. If you keep getting to that same place, it's you that needs maybe some growth or a new mindset. I might not be able to control what happens to me, and you can't control what happens to you, but I can control what happens in me, my responses, and how I choose to navigate that path, no matter how messy it is. And that's where growth comes in.
Ladies and gentlemen, so exciting. Here we are, 5 o'clock exactly, starting on time. No technical difficulties with this crowd, which means finally, 4 years later, we have our act together. You know, whatever. Time and patience come together to create close to perfection.
Magic!
Da-da-da, da-da-da. So, everybody here, now let me tell you about our format tonight. It's very similar to the formats that we've done before. Traci has some very, very, very life-altering things that she would like to say and talk about. And so once I do the introduction, tell you a little bit about our relationship that goes back quite a ways, and how I met her and how fabulous she is. So I'm going to talk her up pretty good. She'll do some of that as well. I'll let her do some of that. But there's her seminar, her tutorial, her speech, which is
Mastermind.
Our mastermind conversation.
Mastermind.
I think folks are going to really get a lot out of what you have to say today, and it's all about life improvement and making good choices and being better parents, and a lot of it will be about her life experience and where she's been, you know, certainly since the days that I met her. And so break out your notes and write some things down here, because you're going to learn a lot. And the other thing too is that it's not like Traci's going to go through one big long mastermind and we're going to just sit here quietly. Raise your hand anytime you want. I see the chat. I'll go into the chat and we can sort of interject periodically, but we're going to kind of give her kind of a head start once I do my little introduction here. So I am done with whatever that was, and I now want to introduce to you one of my dearest favorite people in the entire world. I feel so blessed, so do Sean and I, that we know not only Traci, but her entire family. She's just an amazing person. And way back in the old days when I used to work for a company called Beachbody, sorry. I had an event. Well, I didn't have the event. Beachbody had the event in Hawaii, and there was this very fun and lit up and excited and rambunctious and just this beautiful light with her and her wonderful husband. And she basically jumped into my arms like within the first 10 minutes. And she was just a very unique and amazing person. And from that point on, I don't know how many years ago that was, 15,
20 this year.
20 years ago. And you're younger now. I have a filter on my thing. That's why I look good. But, you know, and all that time, you know, Traci became a coach. Initially, she was very skeptical about that. And I said, hey, why not give it a try? And then so she's built this amazing team, and she's still doing that today. She's doing many other things too, which she'll talk about. I'll let her kind of cover that. But early on, you know, there were people sort of knocking on my door, and Traci was like, these people want you to come to Chicago. They want you to come to Miami. They want you to come to Sacramento. They want you to come, you know, anywhere and everywhere across the country. And we started the Tony and Traci fitness camps, and they were usually 2 or 3 days, and they were all over the country. And it was very spontaneous. It was really generated mostly through the fans, and Traci would kind of track that. And we would go to, you know, Timbuktu just to kind of have a conversation about food and fitness and life and feeling better about who you are in your own flesh, and making it more about health and wellness and less about six packs and biceps. I have a long sleeve shirt on, or this thing be popping right now. Not that it's about that. And we just had a wonderful time, and we got closer and closer, and we've been just phenomenal friends ever since. And since those and then of course, I got busy and Traci got busy. She started working with John Maxwell, and a lot of you may or may not know who John is and all the good work that he does, but she'll talk about that as well a little bit. And so, we didn't go our separate ways so much, but, she moved part of her family back to Colorado. She lived not far from me. Actually, where she used to live is going to get snowed on tomorrow. You know that, right? Your neighborhood's going to be covered in about.
Is that right?
Oh yeah. It's the second largest snowstorm in Los Angeles County history happening tomorrow.
Amazing.
Yeah. So it'll look like your neighborhood now, probably.
I love it. It's snowing right now as we speak.
Oh.
Little flurries.
How wonderful. Well, it'll be like that maybe outside my window as well tomorrow.
Yeah. I love it.
But she continues to do a lot of amazing work that is helping a lot of people. And, I think there are the simpatico that happened between the two of us was because we often would run into people, and we'd have these events because of it, that were struggling in various aspects of their life, various places in their life. And we just wanted to kind of get together over the course of 2 or 3 days and just see if we could help people not only improve their fitness and improve their diet, but just kind of improve their focus on their life, and help them figure out what their raison d'etre was through healthy eating and regular exercise. And so Traci Morrow here has taken that ball and gone and run with it, and in a lot of new different ways, things that I don't really know much about. She's become an expert in a lot of areas that I'm not as familiar with, and that's why I'm really excited to have her here and to talk about some of the things that she wants to talk about today, and to help everybody kind of get to that next level again with some new intel, right? So I'm always, I've been very curious for a long time, and I'm always looking for different ways to sort of figure out whatever they are, whatever strategy or method or technique or whatever it is, to sort of find a new angle, a new approach to helping people take deep breaths and be consistent and be motivated and surround themselves with the right kind of people. And the one thing that I'm going to just tiny touch on it about what Traci's going to discuss today. But I remember years and years ago, we talked earlier today, one of the first personal development books I ever read was Looking Out for Number One. And initially, you'd look at that title and go, oh, this is a book about being super selfish. No, the book was really about learning more about yourself, how you fit into the world, how you can best improve yourself in every possible way, so that you can begin to sort of be able to be an expert in certain areas to help other people who are struggling. And so that's exactly, not exactly, but that's pretty close to what Traci's going to be discussing with all of you today, which is really fascinating. I've never heard her speak about this before. I've heard her, obviously talk about other things in years gone by, but this is sort of a new topic for me. But I'll be raising my hand throughout. My hand will be going up. Oh, Mr. Carter. Mrs. Morrow. I got a question. I got big hands. That's crazy. I'll go back there. That's more normal. Whoa. And then I want you all to do the same thing. All right. We don't want to interrupt her left and right, even though I might once or twice. I'll try to keep it down. Sean, I'll be at a dinner table and I'll talk for 25 minutes and I'll feel the stomp on my foot under the table. It's like, oh, okay, it's my time to be quiet. So I'll try to do more of that. All right. So without further ado, because we want to make sure, here it is 5:07. We want to respect Traci's time. And we want to try to finish up around 6 or 6:15. And I think that's what we discussed and everything. So we have that time. We're going to spend about the first 25 to 30 minutes letting Traci do her thing. And then we want to give about that much time to ask a lot of questions, because I'm assuming most of you will have them. And Monique is here as well, and she's listening in, and she'll be taking a lot of your questions and putting them in the chat. I guess a lot of you don't have that ability just yet. We're working on that on the site, by the way. We're working to the point where we can have the good old-fashioned Zoom, where we get to see everybody's happy, shiny faces. We get to see what they're wearing, what kind of hairstyle they have, and whether they've gotten rid of that dark green avocado shag carpeting yet. And right, so that's it. This way, you're all hanging out and putting your PJs and a top hat, right, and just looking in, and we can't see that. So, Traci Morrow, absolute pleasure. I love seeing you have the best smile I've ever seen in my life. Every time I meet you, I want to just be this guy. I don't know. Can't even smile with those giant, perfect, they're like chiclets, just. And the last thing I want to say is to all of you, and I almost forgot about saying this. You will learn in the next hour plus that Traci is one of the single most honest, authentic, loving, caring, real people you've ever met. There isn't any teensy bit of tomfoolery or hyperbole or anything that isn't directly from her heart, because she truly believes in what she's doing, because it's working for her, and she's had her struggles as well, and I'm pretty sure she'll talk about those,
of course.
But the work that she's done to come through all that out, and also some serious health issues with her thyroid and other stuff. I don't know if she'll cover that or not, but you know what I mean? It hasn't been easy, but I've never met somebody who's been so tenacious and so authentic in the process of really being a world-class human being. So Traci Morrow, take it away.
Oh, those are the kindest words to set me up. Thank you so much. I love you dearly. It is my honor to be here. For those of you who don't know us as a friend partnership, Tony and I, for those of you who do, I do wish we could see you, because I know, because I've heard from some of you, that some of you are going to be on here who did show up to those camps. And I wish we could just see you and hug you, because one of these days we should do a reunion from the Tony Horton fitness camps way back in the day.
Wow.
And we used to talk back then, like, well, we have a TV show and we'd call it TNT. Tony and Traci, because we are explosive like TNT, like, fireworks.
We did have those. It's not too late.
No, I know it's not too
not
late.
Too late.
No,
too late.
Nothing is ever too late. But it's just my joy and privilege to be with all of you. We have been, this year will be 20 years since we first met. And that is just insane to me. I know.
Wow. I know.
We were going through, it's so funny how, if you've ever met a friend, when you meet them, that they're like a brother or a sister to you when you first meet them. And that's really what it was when I met Tony. And even just before we started this recording, we started going through our cheaters, our reading glasses. And he has a pair just like this, and I have my clear pair just like he's wearing. And I'm like, what? Why is this? The more we hung around together, the more we would show up in similar things. We picked out the same things. I know. I said we should change our glasses every 5 minutes. Anyway,
if anybody notices, yes.
But anyway, Tony has been a very big part of my life for now 20 years. He is a brother to me. He is one of my dearest mentors. I decided early on in my life that I was not going to have a mentor. And this is my first insight to you, as when my mentoring advice to you is, don't allow a mentor into your life unless they are really the real deal and the best of the best. And you may make some mistakes along the way. I certainly did. I let some people in that weren't safe people, that proved themselves to be not people worthy of following. And I just quickly removed them from having access to me. And so we'll all make those mistakes. You have to, if you're going to allow somebody in close to you. But I just have to say, Tony and I are a lot alike. We are a lot different. We are a great synergy, and he is a dear mentor to me in health and wellness, in fitness, in just life itself. He said a word in his introduction as he was bringing me in here that I was like, he's a mentor to me in language. I remember him always trying to look for a new word, and then as soon as he would learn it, he would try to implement it into his conversation immediately. And I can tell by just this introduction today that you are still doing that, because you said a word today that I'm like, I don't even remember what that word was, but I don't know what that was.
Might have been disseminate. I don't know. Yeah, might have been. But I'm looking forward to tonight's peregrination. Honestly, looking forward to that.
See what I'm saying? I love that so
my
much.
new favorite word. I slip it in where it's least appropriate. You know what I mean? It just means a long journey, having a long journey. Peregrination, which doesn't sound like it. It sounds like
that to me is just the epitome of growth, and that is really, to me, what tonight is going to be about, or today, whenever you're watching this, if you're watching this in the recording. Growth is really, and I'll share a little bit more about my story with Tony, but growth is really for everyone. And I started learning and growing myself really young. I didn't go to college. Well, I did. I went for one semester, and I didn't like the fact that I had to wait 2 years till I could get to what I was in college for. And so I lost interest really fast. And so I went to get my license to do hair and nails and facials and all that kind of stuff to work in a salon. So with the idea that one day I would own my own salon. So tucking that's important to know, because one day I thought I'm going to need to learn about business. So because I'm not going to college, I'm going to need to learn and self-educate since I'm not going to college. So tonight I'm going to talk about how I've chosen to lead myself. And I want to say two things. I hope, Tony, that you will interrupt me. That's one of the things that we're good at, is we're good at bouncing in and off of each other. We did that for years in the camps. Mm-hmm. And so we're good at riffing off of one another. So please jump in at any point. If you want to land on any point, I'm happy to land there and go off on some tangent with you. And then I would also like to say to those of you who are listening, as you are taking notes, make sure, hopefully you're taking notes. I'm a big note taker. It's how you retain. I mean, even if you just take a few things away, and I hope you'll take a few things away. I don't want you to walk away from like, oh, she's so nice, which I hope you walk away and think she's so nice. But I also want you to walk away and take something with you that becomes a part of you that helps you step into that next best version of yourself. So as you take notes, I would just ask that you don't say, you should do this, or you'll want to do, say say it all in first person as you take your notes. Everything changed for me in my notes when I changed. Thank you, Tony, changing his glasses. I hope you noticed. I noticed, looking so fine and dapper in those.
Yes, this is my secret agent man look right here.
I love it.
I want to interrupt you right out of the box.
I'm so happy.
Just not because I don't know why I should. This is probably the most inappropriate time to do it. But one of the things that you said early in this conversation was about mentors and not following the wrong ones. Mm-hmm. And the only thing I want to add to that is there's so many people who get caught up in the charisma and the fact that they have money and fame and blah, 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 and they talk a good game. But in the end, they realize that whatever it is that this mentor is trying to teach doesn't resonate with them, or it's not authentic, it's not real, it's just a lot more smoke and mirrors, and it's more about money and fame and all the wrong things.
Or about them.
Exactly right. Exactly right. And so, yeah, that's just like already in this conversation, that's just bing. That's one of the first things that lit up inside of me. And I was very fortunate. I had a pretty good mentor detector early on. I could tell when somebody was kind of full of baloney or not. And, and I still run into them today, obviously, because I'm a C- celebrity. So people kind of knock at my door and they want to, do some kind of a deal. And I realized, God, it doesn't feel right. A lot of it is a feeling. A lot of it takes a little energy to sort of put some time into thinking about it a little bit and asking some questions and whatnot. But I mean, that's the first big chunk of value that I've gotten out of what you've said so far. So
learning to trust that intuitive voice inside yourself that is talking to you to say, red alert, something's not right. And then as a secondary level of having someone close to you, like in your case, Tony, Shauna, in my case, my husband, Casey, I remember there was a time where I had a mentor into my life. And when there was something in me that was going off that wasn't right, but I was giving a whole lot of grace to this person inwardly, to that voice. I was hushing the voice because I was giving grace to the person. And Casey met the person and said, wow, I'm surprised. I thought this person was going to be like Tony or like Doug Fitzgerald, another good friend of ours. This person is not like that at all. I'm so surprised you can't see that. And it was like eye-opening to me because I had I put on love goggles and hushed my voice to what I should have been listening to. So it was a lesson learned, and I didn't beat myself up for it and say, oh, I'm an idiot, I'm the worst. I went like, that's why you have other close people that you trust near you, your inner circle, to help you discern as you're learning to listen to that inner voice of intuition that will not lead you astray. So I started learning and focusing on self-growth when I was probably about 21. I made an agreement with myself. I believe agreements that you make with yourself are very powerful, whether they are negative agreements with yourself, that's something to address, or positive agreements that you make with yourself of like, I want to grow into this. I want to be like this. I want to do this. I'm going to do this. I am really a person who, when I make an agreement with myself, a positive agreement with myself, I do keep it to myself. I keep promises to myself. So maybe make a little note of that. Do I keep my promises to myself? And are my promises that I make to myself, are they rooted in healthy promises, or are they rooted in dysfunction? Obviously, this is not a counseling session. I'm not a counselor, but you may want to take that question. If the answer is that's kind of dysfunctional, then you may want to take that to a counselor and work through what's the root of that. Why am I making these? I will never be like this, or I will always do this. What is the root of that? Okay, that's a side note. When I was 21, it was before I had any children. I got married when I was 20. Like I said, I didn't go to college. At 21, I was working as an office manager, and my boss at the time came in with a cassette tape. And he said, Traci, you've got to listen to this guy. He used to be a pastor. He's coming out of the church, but he's coming into the business world. And he's teaching on leadership. Back in those days, that was 1991. Authors were talking about management to people in business. And remember, I'm wanting to own a salon one day. So I'm just an office manager at the point. So I hear this and, he's going to be a business guy. He's the next big business guru. So I think, I want to grow. I want to learn from this next big business guru. And he hands me the cassette tape, and he's talking about leadership, not about management. And so I pop it into my car as I sit in LA traffic on the way home. I lived in LA at the time. And I popped it in my car and listened. And I thought he was going to teach me whatever I didn't know about business. And instead, he started talking about growing yourself. What are you doing to grow yourself? Because in any business situation, you'll learn your trade, you'll learn your craft, you'll learn what you're great at, but grow yourself and how you interact with people. And so I thought, I don't have a growth plan. I don't know what that looks like. I want to cultivate and develop healthy relationships. But the first person I have a relationship with is me. And so for the last 31 years, I am 52, almost 53, I have been growing. And part of my growth plan is what led me to meet Tony, which I'll share about in a little bit. But that was all part of me stepping into the next best version of me, stepping into the next best part of stepping into an uncomfortable space so that I can grow into a new version of me, a better version of me. My mind open to something new, to seeing things through a new filter and a better version. Not that I was ever bad, but gosh, if in 5 years I'm thinking the same way as I think today, I've stopped growing, and I don't ever want to stop growing. So since I didn't go to college, I knew I needed to self-educate. How I thought that on my own, I have no idea, but I just knew I needed to grow. So I'm going to talk to you about foundational pillars of developing yourself. So you might be 50 like me, 60s like Tony. You might be in your teens, 20s, 30s, however old you are. If you could show this to your teenager, if you want to, because I talk about this with my kids. Developing yourself helps you develop healthy, functioning relationships, but you can't do that if you're in a relationship right now, and I know I'm talking to somebody right now, if you're in a relationship right now and there is dysfunction and there's something that you're stuck on, or there is something that you just keep noticing coming up in different relationships. Maybe you've been married several times. Maybe you've had several significant others and it just keeps coming to the same point and it breaks at the same point. Well, guess who you've dragged into the next relationship where it breaks at the same point? The only person that you have control over changing the behaviors, and probably potentially the problem, and that is you, is if you keep getting to that same place, it's you that needs maybe some growth or a new mindset. And so I always believe that, like, when I change, it makes me, I want to like myself. I want to like me, so that the agreement that I made with myself when I was 20 is that as much as it depends on me and my choices, I want to live without regret. So that means if I have to get really uncomfortable in an uncomfortable conversation, if that means I have to apologize, if that means I have to have a really raw conversation because I missed something and I blew it, if that means I have to step way outside my comfort zone and talk to somebody who's uncomfortable with me, I'm going to, as much as it depends on my choices, live without regret. And I can say now, 30, however many years later, I can honestly say I do have regret in my life because there were things I wish I had known, but I can honestly say that I have lived my life in a way I have made myself very uncomfortable so that I can live now at 52 and say, I don't have regrets about what I did intentionally. But if you do, today is the day where we can start talking about how can you make that agreement with yourself from today forward. This isn't like, oh, I sucked, I blew it. This is like how moving forward from today, whether that's with your spouse or significant other, whether that's with your children, if you have them. This might mean going back to your kids and saying, which I have done before, I just learned something new about myself and I had something revealed and I realized I blew it. And I'm going to ask your forgiveness for this. I've done that with my kids multiple times. And guess what? When you humble yourself like that and are really raw and go to someone you care about and acknowledge what they already know, they appreciate it. And they typically are forgiving, even if you have to go a few conversations and rounds through it. If you stay humble and with an open posture, people are open to that. So those people, whether it's your kids, people in your community, if you're a person of faith, people in your faith community, whatever that is, in your business, in the places, all the places where you have impact, where you lead yourself first. When you lead yourself first, you show up as a better version of yourself, no matter where you are. So if you want health in your life, I'm going to say as a precursor, it's not easy. It takes raw honesty with yourself. It takes bravery. It takes humility. It takes being willing to look at pieces of your life, habits, your responses in stress, to look at your whole life and intentionally choose to lead yourself well. And so I might not be able to control what happens to me, and you can't control what happens to you, but I can control what happens in me, my responses, and how I choose to navigate that path, no matter how messy it is. That's where growth comes in. So when I was young, how am I doing? Do you want to jump in here?
Great. I do. But you're cranking. And it's funny because a lot of things are popping into my head and I'm trying to remember them all when it's the right time. Here's the one thing that I would want to say.
Okay.
This is something that I do that relates to exactly what you're saying is when I was going through one of my personal development books, which is most of these back here.
I know.
Yeah, yours as well. We'll have to match, see who's got what. I got a couple John Maxwell's in there.
I love that.
Yeah, one of the things that, I got them all. But one of the things that I did early on was that I realized, and I don't know, I think this was one of those seminars, down by the airport. They're always by the airport. I don't know.
Yeah, because people can fly in and stay.
Fly in, there's that hotel. And if the people who are running it doesn't go well, they could just hop in a plane and escape.
Yes.
But everything was not everything, but quite often the theme of breaking these parts of your life into a pie, right? So there's the fitness piece to the pie. There's the financial piece of the pie. There's the fitness, finance, relationships, the mindfulness piece, all these different things. When you kind of like would break them down, like, okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, what are your finances like right now? I mean, as far as who you are and what you want in life. And back in the day, 2, I was hand to mouth. And so then, it was really easy in that moment to understand that there was a problem. And then you had to write down, some various strategies in which to get out of that financial situation. Same thing with relationships. I was usually single and fairly unhappy and not in one. And so what were the strategies? It was cool about these events was they would give you these various techniques on how to improve these various categories of your life. Mm-hmm. And still to this day, one of my big things that I'm still working on is just being more patient and being more present and not reacting to things, like my father, the former tank commander, and I know that about me. And, Shauna's married to this guy. So she's a reminder of that. And so these are different areas. And then you have to decide, here's the thing is, as you get older and older and older, it's harder and harder to make changes. That's just sort of a general blanketed statement for most people, because you kind of get ground in to who you are and who your friends are and what your job is and in your mindset. And I don't need to learn new stuff and I don't need new friends. And I'm kind of pretty happy with who I am. And weird, I probably have something known as one of my things that I probably have early onset curmudgeon disorder. And what happens to a lot of older folks. And now as almost 65, I'm having those moments where I just feel like I'm my heels are dug in on certain things. And thank God I have Shauna to remind me that there's another choice in a lot of these areas,
Sure.
in life, because when I was with Beachbody, it was easy. Hey, Tony, we'll give you 6 months to develop a program. And then you start in the last 2 weeks to develop it. And then, then you cast it and you shoot it. And then and then you're done. And then you wait another 5, 6, 7, 8 months before that comes up again. And you're living on your royalty checks. That wave came to shore. And so there were a lot of things that I had to learn how to do. Now I have, 3 or 4 different companies, and it's 3 times more work, and it's a little shift in life. So I have to learn to find balance. Like one of my pies is like, where's my balance? And for me, it's okay. I'm going to go to Jackson Hole for 5 weeks. That's right. And when I come back, I'll get busy again. We'll shoot this and do that, and keep working. But the one thing that I want to say after all that meandering, but I hope there was a point or two in there, is to be open at any age, especially as you get into your late 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. Most people in their 60s are done. I don't need to learn another thing. I'm relatively unhappy in 65% of my categories, and there's nothing I can do about it. And it's your fault. And there's a lot of finger pointing and all that kind of stuff. And just to look for sources. Anybody who's here listening, there's 47 of them listening to us right now. They're here. There's probably another 47 that knew about it. Maybe they'll see it later. Maybe they'll skip it. Who knows? But I would assume that the vast majority that are in here right now with you and I, Traci Morrow, is that they're going to take a note or two, and they're going to write some things down, and they're going to make some changes, and they're going to have some conversations with some folks that they've been putting off for a long time, or they're going to explore some category of their life that they've been kind of putting off for a year or 2 or 3 or 4. And I hope so, because when you do that, and this as well as anybody, I mean, this is why your talk is so spot on, is that you really open up to more happiness and joy, more joy and happiness than you would if you don't. And that's Absolutely. What it is for me. I mean, our whole thing, our relationship was 97% humor.
Yeah.
And then we would do other things too, like work and help people. You know what I mean? It's like, who could make the other one laugh harder? Which goes to show you, a lot of people, I meet people who just don't really laugh anymore.
I know.
They don't have a sense of humor anymore. Maybe they never did, Anyway, so that's
That's why, I think that's a good add-on. So thank you for adding that. And I think so before I get to these 5 pillars of having a healthy relationship with yourself, I want to say 2 things that I learned from John early on that I really worked on. And that was, growth starts with awareness. You have to know yourself to grow yourself. So self-discovery, really begins with you learning more about yourself, but also allowing the people who are close to you, like what Tony just said about Shauna, is having someone close enough who's safe, who doesn't have ulterior motives to tear you down, but someone who is safe enough to point out things that are blind spots in your life, because we all have blind spots. And so that's why with each of these 5 pillars, I'm going to give you some questions to ask of yourself. And so I want you to write those down, and then maybe ask someone who's close to you. There will be a question for them as well, for a couple of them. So 2 things, if I learned, if I don't love people, I am going to be, and you will be, because we're human, we are tempted to manipulate people if we don't really care about them, because we're going to manipulate them for our own needs and desires and for the things we're trying to do. It is human nature to put ourselves first and use people if we don't really truly care about them. And so I wanted that for myself. I knew I was good with people from the time I was young, but I knew that was a gift. That was a gift that I didn't really work for. But there was an underbelly to that, is I didn't really love them. I mean, you can look at me today and you can see the hard work that I've done to truly see people as they are, not with the hard edges or the walls that they lead with, or the wounds that they lead with, or the responses to wounds that they lead with, because that gives a rub, humanity on humanity. It can be off-putting. It can be curmudgeon disease, or whatever Tony jokingly says, but we all have it in us. And that I wanted to see beyond that and see the person behind that mask. I want to see them for their true value. And so I knew I needed to develop that as a skill. And my kids used to run cross country. I've got 6 kids. 4 of them are all in their 20s. My oldest is turning 30 next month. And my youngest is 17. And what I found was that when they ran cross country, they had these shirts that said, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. I'm sure you've heard that saying before. But that's the same thing when in your gifts. So you can have a natural gift. My natural gift was good with people, but I didn't necessarily love them. I needed to develop that as a skill. And so I worked really hard to see beyond the mask. So the second thing was that the leader, you in leading yourself, your first job is to define reality. Sometimes we aren't living in reality. We think we're one way, but how people view us, we tend to, as human beings, judge people based on their actions, but we judge ourselves based on our intentions. Have you ever noticed that? So you got yourself a lot of slack because you're like, well, I meant to, what I was going to do is, but you don't really do that for other people. And so we need to define reality based on our behaviors and our actions and the things we actually follow through on or don't in order to move forward and to grow. So we're going to talk about these five things now. And I think of them sort of like this little lock. And I keep this in my office and I have it hanging up just on a little cork board just outside of my, outside of your view on my computer here. And because nowadays, I don't even think they can legally have these on campus anymore, but I love these locks. This lock kind of reminds me of every person. I'm a mom. I have 6 kids. They are all radically different. And they come to you like this lock, like unlock me, figure me out. I have a code and you got to figure me out if you're going to bring out the best in me. Open me up and figure me out and release me and launch me to figure out, help me find myself and become the best version of myself. So I feel like what I'm going to share with you with each of these 5 pillars of having a healthy relationship with yourself, each assessment, each one comes with an assessment. I'm going to share with you a book that goes with it that I believe is a great book. Or an assessment online that you can look up afterwards. And each time you take that assessment, you find out something new about yourself. It's like putting in the next number on this lock as you are figuring yourself out, and then you'll open yourself up, unlocking yourself. So the first one is taking care of yourself physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, getting yourself healthy in those areas, right? So physically, the other ones are going to talk about like mentally and emotionally, the other pillars, but this first one is kind of all encompassing. And so I can't believe when Tony and I would travel, we used to say, if only we could bottle and market the aha moment. For every person, it was different. For one person, it might be they got a notice from their doctor that they were pre-diabetic. For another person, their spouse found out they were pre-diabetic, but their spouse did nothing about it, but it scared them enough that they changed the way they ate. And it was like same diagnosis, but radically different. It was reaction. Yeah. I mean, their reactions were so different. And so taking care of this one and only body, if I don't take care of my car, if I don't put the oil in it, if I put the wrong kind of gas in it, I could like thrash my car. And I have thrashed my car before. Side note, one time driving home, I ruined one of my minis. I love that. I had a convertible mini and I was driving home from doing P90X for Xbox with Tony. We filmed it. Oh,
remember that?
And I fried my car because I didn't put something in it that I was supposed to put in it. And I kept seeing the light and I didn't know what the light meant. And I didn't tell my husband that the light is on because I figured he drives his car too. He knows what's going on. I never take care of the car. Fried it and that car was ruined. Anyway, we can run our car, we can get a new car, but we have one body that takes us from beginning to end. We get one chance with this body. And if we break it down, they can surgically put in new parts, but then you have to take all these medicines and do all these things that it changes and alters the way you live life. And so I'm amazed at the people for me, it was, I just didn't know how to take care of my body. And so no matter what you believe, whether you're a person of faith or not a person of faith, we love everybody, no matter what it is, whatever you think or believe, but you are a whole person. You have thoughts, you have faith in something, mankind or God or whatever it is. You have feelings and emotions that are connected to things that happened to you in childhood. You are a physical body. You are all these pieces. And so you want to make sure that you are addressing all those pieces instead of ignoring some of them, many of them, and just getting into the grind and ignoring yourself. And I'm amazed that a lot of people forget to take care of themselves. So here's what it looks like for me. Here's how I take care of myself and lead myself. I work out. I read books. I attend seminars. Well, you're here, so congratulations. I read my Bible because I'm a Bible reader, but I also listen to podcasts. I listen to fun podcasts, but I also listen to educational podcasts. I listen to books on Audible because I'm an auditory learner. I have great conversations with people who stretch me and change my thinking and open my mind to things that I don't really think about. Like, I like to talk to people who vote differently than me. I like to talk to people who have different beliefs than me, because I like to think like, tell me more about that. So what do you think about this? And just think like, when was the last time you had a conversation with somebody who voted differently than you? This is not about this, but all I'm saying is, have you been curious about that? Because it stretches your mind to like, somebody else really feels really strongly in a different way about something that you feel strongly about. Let's be curious about that for the purpose of just being curious. Tony used to say all the time, I think he said at the beginning, you said at the beginning of this, I try to stay curious. And staying curious, when he said that to me 20 years ago, he's been saying that for as long as I've known him. That really stuck with me. I love that somebody said, stay curious, because I tended to think life is coming at you. Make your decision about what you believe about this, and then go to the next thing that you have to make your decision about what you believe about it, and then go to the next thing. And instead of saying you can make a decision, but also stay curious about it. That's like mind blowing, isn't it? Who says that? So here are your questions. How am I intentionally growing each day in these areas that enhance your physical body, your mind, your spirit, your emotions? Do I have an overarching objective of what you want for your life with a bunch of little tiny goals that support that objective? Have you even thought about yourself in that way? Have I found trusted mentors in each of the areas that I want to grow? I wanted to grow in business. Well, it turns out I grew as a person, and I found John Maxwell. I wanted to grow fitness and my taking care of my body. So I started learning from Tony Horton, and my mind was opened. And so I grew in lots of different ways with Tony and John, but I went to them for one thing, and I found they were teachers in lots of different ways. So for the first part, those are your questions that you want to write down and simmer on in a quiet moment. Spend time on these questions. Here's the next part. Knowing and growing in your personality. If you're going to unlock the next little part of yourself. And so we do in Maxwell Leadership, which is where I am a relationship guide, we do the DISC assessment, but I've done Personality Plus. I have done the Enneagram. I have done the one where you're animals. I've done the one where you are cartoon characters, the Winnie the Pooh characters, all the different personality ones. But when you find your personality, my husband, Casey, and I are very, very different. We've been married for 32 years. It'll be 33 this year. We're very different, and we loved each other, but we are so different. It was hard for us the first 12 to 15 years because we kept missing. We kept missing it. And so when we found out about personalities and unlocked that about those of us, we were like celebrating, because things that were hard for us before suddenly clicked into place. For one, he goes, we're not crazy. I know that seems kind of funny, but we both kind of thought, are we just weird? What is wrong? Like, what is wrong with the way that we are wired? And so it helped us to understand like the lens. It helps me to understand the lens that I view life through my personality, and the way that I respond the way that I do, and the way that I learn the way that I learn. And I learned my weaknesses and my strengths. And what I found as I unlocked that part of me, and then unlocked that part about my husband, that the parts that are actually radically different, we're actually a great complement to one another. And we stopped competing with one another. And we actually found that we perfectly complete one another. Where I'm strong, he's weak. And where he's strong, I'm weak. And so we cover one another's weaknesses, And we went for so long, just frustrated all the time. We just didn't know. We just didn't know. So maybe you have a relationship that you're like, oh my gosh, it's that person. Well, start working on you, find out about yourself. You'll find out crazy things about yourself if you start learning about your personality. And then remember this, I want to say, don't ever use any of these assessments. There are DISC assessments, Enneagram assessments, all this. It's never meant to put you in a box, and it's never meant to be used as an excuse. You know, I'm wired this way. You know, this is my personality. You know, this is my weakness. It's not ever meant to be as an excuse. It's meant for you for understanding and for discovery, and for you to help you navigate the messy pieces of relationships with people outside of your head. So here are your questions.
Can I ask you one thing, Trace? Amazing, really, really good. And it's reminding me of, the following. I think a lot of times there was a very famous book that was going around, and a lot of my friends and I were reading this book. And I got it was all about relationships, finding the right person and blah, 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 and how to get along with that person, how to make the most out of your relationship, whether you're looking for one or whether you're in one or you're married or whatever it was. And I remember getting into the third chapter, and I remember I'm reading this book, and it's so popular. It was a New York Times bestseller list. And I'm thinking, why do I hate this book? Like, this book was asking me to completely rewire myself. Like, I had to change my personality completely. Like, everything about me was wrong. And if I want to really be in a relationship that I'm supposed to be in, I have to go and be this person. And I go, but I'm not that person. There's nothing about me that's that person. And then the person that I'm looking for, maybe that person needs to rewire themselves as well. And I remember saying to all my buddies, I can't read this thing. It doesn't feel right to me. Two of my friends, going unnamed, of course, bought in 100%. And to this day, years later, they both have very complicated, very head-banging relationships with their spouse.
Interesting.
It's like where they are in the relationship is nowhere in the world where I am. The one thing I'm not a therapist either. But the one thing that Shauna and I do is, and maybe we're kind of partly wired this way. I waited till I was 105 years old to get married so I could find the right person. But I mean, Shauna and I just accept who the other one is. And our main goal is what it is. Like, what can I do? Like, I tell Shauna, like, what's my job? She goes, to make my life awesome. I go, that's what my job is. My job is not to try to, like, right now she's going through ACL surgery, right? So it was yesterday. And so today, my job is about her, and how can I support her? How can I help her? What can I do for her? And it's funny because the more that you do for your spouse or your partner, there's a greater tendency that if they know who they are and they've done that work that you've already talked about, right, there's a greater likelihood that they'll find an opening to be able to respond to you, to thank you, and to be able to turn around and do something for you as well. So, I just feel like we're very, very fortunate. And it's not perfect. We still go bang, bang, once in a while.
Totally.
But even after that, it lasts for 10 minutes. You know what I mean? It doesn't, a lot of other relationships, it was like, oh man, you rotten, or that happened back in July of 1995. Yeah, but I've never forgotten it. Okay, terrific. But there's none of that going on. And so it's what's really, what I'm relearning from what you're talking about is being open to it. You know what I mean? Like, just put down your defenses, take off your gloves, and just be open and be vulnerable. And be willing to learn. And if you do that, you know what I mean? Amazing and wonderful things can happen. Because I remember early on when I first met you, we used to talk about some of the stuff that you were dealing with Casey, and the work that you guys have done to kind of really learn to understand each other. And it's amazing what you guys have now. It's absolutely, and to come out of a kind of a tough time. And a lot of people, it just leads to divorce for a lot of folks when it doesn't happen.
Well, because we loved each other. Also, I think what you just said was so good in the fact that, like, you listened to that, back to the first point, that intuitive voice in you that was like, this is not right. I have to change who I am. Be so careful of who you allow to speak in. And if there's a part of you that's like, this is not right. If your core gut is screaming out to you, this is not right. But you want help so bad, there are answers out there. There are great tools out there. And sometimes it's just a timing thing. Like for Tony, I mean, there was not a lack of women wanting to be married to you. I mean, when we would do these camps, what I loved about you, I would come home to Casey and I would say, I'm so proud of Tony. These women are relentless. They will want to throw themselves, and my job was like, I was the shield, and it was like, protect him from crazy women wonderful women, but crazy, who loved you because you made a difference in their life. And it was like, you had boundaries. And that's my word for this year, is boundaries. And it's having boundaries up around the things that you really want for yourself. And you knew what you wanted, and you knew what wasn't it. And I just always admired that about you, because you just knew what you wanted. And you waited for that. And sometimes that's a lesson to so many people, is if you rush timing, it's a disaster. You cannot rush timing. Okay, let me move back to this.
Yeah, go on. Yeah, because
Question: do I know my personality? This is your question you ask yourself about this, growing in your personality. Have you taken an assessment? You can go online and take all of those assessments and read up about yourself. And please do start with yourself, then do it with your spouse. Then I did it with each of my kids, which, by the way, all 6 of my kids are all different personalities from me and from Casey. We are like, parenting all these radically different kids was like a nightmare. But it helped me to learn so much about people, because they are all so radically different from each other, from us. So ask, do I know my personality? And have I, not to box you in, but just to identify some things so you can understand yourself better? Have I studied the personalities of those I live with? And then have I asked those people close to me, what is it like to be on the other side of me? Because you've got blind spots. And when I asked my kids, what's it like to be on the other side of me? They sure had answers, and they weren't at all what I thought they would be.
Yeah.
So it's,
I mean, sometimes all you have to say is, how am I doing?
Yeah.
How am I doing?
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? And they'll tell you,
Yes, they will.
You're asking me
Yes,
how
they
you're
will.
doing? Well, let me
Yes.
tell you. You know what I mean? But, then I always say, try to be kind. All right. Don't be too,
Mhm.
right. But, I do that with my friends. Hey, man, that thing that I did, was that obnoxious? Did that upset you? Did you get the joke? You know what I mean? Sometimes they'll come up to me and go, yeah, I know you were kidding, but that kind of stung. I was like, oh, then I'm done. I will never do it again. You know what I mean? And just asking for permission to have them say, tell you how you're doing, how they're reacting to you. And if they're like, hey man, this is a great thing and you're wonderful and I love it and I wouldn't change. But you're not going to get that typically, but be open to the fact that you won't get that. And then you have to be open to the fact, like, okay, this is really how they feel about me and our relationship. So maybe it's time that I behave slightly differently and to upgrade the situation a little bit.
And that's mature. I mean, you're mature, and you have to be mature to be able to ask that and hear it back, and then be able to find the steps, and they're out there, to find the steps of how you change that. And that just takes growth, and it takes time. It takes time. Think of how long it takes to change one thing. So why do we ever try to change someone else? It takes so much time to change ourselves and work on ourselves. And I might work on something for a little bit, and then I get a little bit lazy. And then I need to remind myself again on one issue. So why do we ever try to change someone else? We can spend a lifetime trying to change ourselves. And now we go to the next one.
Yeah.
Our next little number, and that's number 3. And that is knowing and expressing yourself in your love language. And that's how you need to be loved. When I read this book, The 5 Love Languages, this was a game changer again in our marriage, but also with my kids. It was huge, because I find that I am, and this is probably why we are good friends, Tony, because I think our love languages are probably the same. And
can you say what the 5 are and what yours is?
Yes, they are words of affirmation, physical touch, gifts, acts of service, and quality time. So for me, how I like to receive love is words of affirmation and physical touch, a hug, a grab on the shoulder. Yeah. So you tend to gravitate to friends. Your friends are typically more like you. Your spouse, oddly, and I've done this because we've done so many marriage conferences and things. Typically you marry someone, not always, because there are some that are very much the same. Typically you marry someone who is opposite of you or different than you. Sometimes they line up, but usually in personalities, in all these kinds of things, it's opposite, but your friends are similar to you.
What is Casey's? What is Casey's?
Casey's are acts of service. And which it's so obvious. What does he always do? And serving, and then also quality time.
Sean is his acts of service. Bingo. Like right now when she's going through her thing, I am her
hero.
I am her butler right now. That's my job.
And that's what they that's like their language. So so here's the thing. When we would go away to Tony Horton fitness camps and I would come home, Casey always had done one thing around the house, like a honey-do list, like he'd hung a fan or he hung me a pull-up bar, or he did something to the house for me that he had heard me say, cataloged it and did it while I was gone. So it was a surprise. So I always came home to, he had done something for me, and he and the kids had made me a welcome home mom, dad's chili. And we would have family dinner together. And I would walk through the door. And what did I want him to? That's acts of service. I wanted him to kiss me and hug me and tell me I missed you so much. And he'd look up and say, welcome home, Mom. And I would be like, hi. And he'd be like stirring the chili. And I would go, what's wrong? And we were already down the hole. Right. Because he's like, what's wrong? You've been home 13 seconds. Because he didn't say something and he didn't stop and come hug me. But instead, what had he done? The house was clean. The laundry was done. He had done all the stuff. The kids' homework was done. He'd been super dad. He'd served me. He had loved me in his love language. Yeah. And we were loving each other in like 2 different languages. He was speaking Russian and I was speaking Chinese. And so we were missing each other. So when we figured love languages out, it was like, oh my goodness, now we know. So here's your question. What are your top 2 love languages? Because you typically have 2. And do you know your spouse or significant other's top 2? And are you talking to them and loving them, not talking to them? Are you loving them in their love language, not in the way you want to be loved? And then what about your children if you have them? And then you can do that about your friends. The first thing I did when I met John Maxwell and Mark Cole, CEO of all Maxwell Leadership, they both said to me, Traci, what are your top 2 love language? And do you know, every time they see me, they give me a big bear hug. They tell me all the things they appreciate about me. Like, that is a company you want to be a part of. And you can do that in your company and you can do that in your home. So take those assessments, read up on them, ask people about that, make that a part of your organization, your family, every group you're a part of. And then sit down and ask people, what are ways? Ask people. They might not know, or they may not have taken the test, but said, what is some ways that I can love you in a way that makes sense to you? And then just let them hear it.
Can you imagine people have never had that exchange in before? If they had, because I remember when I was, yes. I mean, absolutely. Like, can you imagine somebody who's close to your husband, your wife, your kids, your brother, your aunt, your uncle, your sister, grandparents came to you with that question? Like, your mind would be blown. You'd be like, oh my God. That question in itself is a relationship altering moment, because it just says that person, whoever they are, within your stratosphere, is taking their time to help improve the quality of your relationship.
Yes.
It's amazing.
Quality of time. And if you've blown it, don't be afraid to address it. They already know, because they're feeling like their love tank is dead, bone dry. And so I went to my kids, my daughter Holly, quality time. When we found out about this test, I had all my kids take it. I had their high school friends take it so that I could start loving them in their love language. I had all my family of origin take it. We had all these big family discussions. Holly's is quality time. Quality time is dead last for me. I would wipe down my counters and be trying, like, come in here and talk to me, folding laundry. And so, but I'd buy her things. I like to express love by giving gifts. I love to think of a great gift for someone and give somebody something. And so I had to go to her and say, Holly, I am so sorry that I have not loved you in your language. All she wanted was time alone with me in a huge family. She just wanted my face, looking at her face, not wiping down a counter, not doing laundry, not working at my computer and saying, let's talk while we work, which to me, that's fun. If we're being productive, if we're doing 6 things at once and we're talking, then we're killing it. And that to her was like heartbreaking. And so I said, go back, and all the times I bought you something, when I bought you that purse, when I bought you that thing, that was me taking you out for coffee. That was my way of trying to do that. And so please forgive me. And so moving forward, I try. Now she's 28 years old. She's going to be a mom of two. I do everything I can to stop what I'm doing and be there for her. And she was like, thank you, Mom. And then I followed through. Number 4, I feel like I'm taking too long. Knowing and operating in your strengths. There's a book with an assessment called Strengths Finders. This is really for in your work, but it's important that you know this, because if you dread Monday mornings, if you get the Sunday blues and it could be that you are not in a job or in a position that gives you life. And so knowing how you best serve in your team through the Strengths Finders helps you operate in your strengths, because you have something very unique to bring to your team. And if you don't know what those strengths are because you just got into a job or a career and you're like, okay, I've been sludging it out for the last 20 years. I hate my life. I hate Mondays. I live for the weekends. Maybe you're overweight. Maybe you drink too much. Maybe you get high too much because you don't like your job. Mm-hmm. And it's never too late to begin again. I love that F. Scott Fitzgerald quote that's like, I hope that you love your life. This is paraphrasing, but I hope you live a life you're proud of. And if not, I hope you have the bravery to begin again. So here's your question. Do you know your strengths? Do you operate in the strengths in your job? If you do, that's amazing. Do you operate in your strengths in your home? I'm a great delegator. I do the things I love to do. And then I have a big enough family that I find what the strengths are of everybody else and try to pop them into the other strengths so that everything gets done in the family, but everybody's doing what they like to do. But sometimes you have to do what you don't like to do, like sometimes you have to clean a toilet. That's just reality. But you also can find what you really love to do. Do you have an opportunity to feel like you get to practice the things that you love to do? And if not, look for them. Number 5, know and operate in your gifts and strengthen those up. Your strengths are the ways that you show up for your team. These are the other ways that you can. So if you're a person of faith, there is a spiritual gifts in how you can serve in your church. And if you've never taken that, that's amazing. If you're not a person of faith, there's a great new book called The 6 Types of Working Genius by Pat Lencioni. It is a game changer. I have never understood why I operate the way I operate in my organization. And this book unlocked me. And for the first time, I'm like, now I understand myself. I love certain aspects of my job and I absolutely hate certain aspects of my job. And now I understand myself. So The 6 Types of Working Genius by Pat Lencioni, that book and that assessment helps you understand what your special genius is for your job. So understanding your strengths and getting into your position, and then diving even deeper as what are you gifted to do. And with each time you unlock that, you get closer to doing what I call, and I put on every water bottle, living a great story. Do you think that your marriage is or your boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever is your favorite love story? Like, I want my marriage to be my favorite love story. I want my family to be my favorite family. I want where I live. I want my adventures. I want my vacations to be my favorite. I don't want to look at someone else and go, because that's when you envy someone, is when you're looking at them and thinking, I wish I had what they had. I want mine to be my favorite. And guess what? I can work hard so that I want to create those things. And the more I know about myself, the more I can do that. And so your questions for this is, do you get excited about what you do? Do you wake up before your alarm? My mom was a stay-at-home mom, and she would say to me, Traci, every day I would wake up before my alarm because I was so excited about my day, I couldn't sleep anymore. She loved being a stay-at-home mom so much. You don't have to be in a paid position. I mean, it's incredible to raise up human beings to go out and make an impact in the world. So moms do an amazing job. And so she used to say she would wake up. Sometimes she would get up at 4 a.m. just to start into her day because she was so excited to do the things she did as a mom. And do you feel that? Sometimes I've gotten up and come down in my office and make myself a cup of coffee and come down here and get going in my day. 3:30. Sometimes I'm like, okay, 3:30s. That's close enough to the morning because I'm so excited about what I have coming in my day. If you don't feel that, why not? Could it be that you are placed in a spot on your team that you are not operating in your gift zone? If you have to wake up every day and do the things that you're not good at, that you can do, but you can get it done, but you aren't like passionate about it, or you just in a job that doesn't, it doesn't matter what it is that you do, as long as it lights something up in you. So those assessments are for the purpose of knowing yourself, unlocking yourself. It takes time. I just gave it to you in an hour, but you know what? I'm sorry that took so long, but those kinds of things are all a part of you investing in yourself, growing yourself, for the purpose of then going out and making connection with other people. So your first step of really making an impact in the world and having really deep, rich relationships is getting to know yourself and then lighting yourself up. And so that when you go out into the world, you're this bright light because you're loving your life. I love my life because I figured myself out and I want to bring my best to this world. And that's not unique to me. Anybody can do that. So that's why I'm passionate. When Tony and Missy were like, oh, you want to talk about this? I'm like, yes, I want to talk about this because I am passionate about it. And every person can do this if they take the time to invest in themselves. Money, your resources, your money, your time, your brain space, get rid of some wasted time space and invest in you, because when you show up as your best self, then everywhere you go, you're going to live a great story. And now I have
many things I want to add.
I love
it. Unbelievable. I see some questions over here. So I'm going to be brief so we can get to some of these questions.
Okay.
But the one thing about you that I want to let everybody know is that, we're talking about the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual for some people, is that, I've always said, Traci, every time I have one of my seminars, it was always about having the energy and enthusiasm to live the life that you want to live. And to have the energy and enthusiasm to have the life you want to live, there's a couple of things that you need to do first that you have total control over, that nobody else controls but you. And, that is your more than a couple of things, but that is your schedule, the company that you keep, your regular exercise, and the healthy food that you're putting in your body. So if you've got a lot of positive energy around you, that's usually the people who are around you, whether they're your kids or your husband or your friends or whatever it is. Like I have that in abundance. Like everybody around me is funny, and they're a go-getter, and they're following the raison d'etre, French for following the reason for being. And at 64, I got a call from a gal. I don't know how she got my phone number, but she did. Hi, my name is Emily Goppelstein, and I just got a hip replacement, and I'm dealing with depression. I have some weight issues, and I wanted to call you. I'd like you to call me back and give me exercises that I can do I'm your age. I'm 64. What? You're what? You're not 109? I mean, I'm just listening to this person. Like, you could tell that she's made a lot of bad decisions along the way. And that, she found my phone number, God bless her, and God gave me a call. And, I've already got Missy on it. So we hope that we can at least begin to make some change for her. But I know for a fact, and I think Traci's the same way. And many of you that are listening who are fans of mine and soon to be a fan of Traci Morrow's understand the importance of clean and healthy food, because it's all about brain chemistry. It's all about body chemistry and brain chemistry. It's all about science when it really comes down to how much you want to move, how often you want to move, how hard you want to move, and what you want to put in your mouth. That gives you the foundation of who you're going to be, and you have total control over that. That way you can begin to put these pieces together. You can begin to read these books, ask these questions of other people, so that you can upgrade the quality of the communication with people, so you can begin to understand them and they can understand you.
Yeah.
The other thing I want to say is, I love that you're mentioning these books for people to read. Every time I read a book from cover to the end, and by the way, the book reading is down by 18 trillion%. People are doing audio books, which is great. That's like Ted right. McDonald. He's always, got his headphones on. He's taking in information that way. But when I sit down and I'm turning pages, like the last two books that I've had a huge impact on me, it's funny because you are who you are until you take on new information, and then you're not that. You are automatically not that person anymore. You can't be, because it takes away stuff that doesn't work for you, and it adds new stuff that can. And like I read Steve Martin's book, Born Standing Up. Like it's an autobiography about his life and how he started, and the fact that he was like he was a carny at Knott's Berry Farm and Disneyland and his whole experience about how he came into stand-up comedy and finding the punchline and looking at jokes and performing with other people. And it was just such an enlightening, fun, because I was always a huge Steve Martin fan. And then I read David Nestor's book, Breath. I mean, I read this book and now I tape my mouth every night. I've been taping my mouth for over a year and a half. I just put this thing, it's called Hush. It's like this oval thing. And it helps with sleep. It helps with, and it was, you read that book and you understand the importance of breathing through your nose as opposed to breathing through your mouth, and how bad it is to be a mouth breather, not during the day and at night or whatever it is. And all the history of it, all the science behind it, all the, all the studies that have worldwide that have done about how important it is to shut your trap and breathe through this amazing device. It's like a conch shell with 18 trillion little cells that are filtering out all the dust and the dirt and the grime and the viruses and everything else. And like the quality of my sleep has gone through the roof. Sean is a fan, I'll tell you that much. But the goodnight kiss has got to happen before the tape goes on my mouth. Right, she'll ask me a question when it's on there. It's like,
I would like a picture of you in the tape, please.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna show you this right now.
I think, okay, you're welcome, everyone, for making that happen.
Wait a minute.
Oh my gosh, I love him.
Hey, look, and that's another thing, Tracy. Before, when I was a kid, my only goal was to try to fit in. My goal was to try to fit in and not get in the way. And not so I wouldn't get beat up or I wouldn't be made fun of, and whenever when I was younger, if I wasn't halfway decent at something, I would quit immediately. So, there was a lot of, I had a speech impediment. I had all these different issues as a child. And then, through the process that you just talked about, simple, in an hour, the amount of intel that you gave everybody, now it's up to them to decide whether they want to take one or two pieces of all of it and begin to practice some of this stuff. There they are.
Is it lips? Is there a picture of lips on it?
Yeah, no, they are this here.
This?
I'm actually going to do this right now.
I love you. I love you so much. And
Right.
This is where the call derailed.
I know. Sean is downstairs watching this going, oh my God, I cannot believe it. But I'm just saying, like, if you pick up a book, all right, whatever it is, and just decide to read the darn thing. So that's what it looks like, right? It's a little thing like that.
Oh, it's flesh color.
Yeah. Oh.
Well,
Depending on your flesh.
I was just going to say, does it come in different color?
It should.
Flesh tones.
You ready?
Oh, it's not flesh color.
Mm-mm. Mm-hmm.
Somebody cue the Go-Go's. Our lips are sealed. Oh, that makes me feel very claustrophobic.
Yeah, and the first 2 or 3 nights I did it, oh my God, and I was like coughing and freaking out. But I mean, a lot of people who are having sleep apnea and bad sleep and wake up like they have the Mojave Desert in their mouth because and they're snoring and all different kinds of things. I read the book and I was like, okay, I got to try it. What's the worst thing that can happen? And it's over a year that I've been doing it. There are great questions here.
Okay, yeah, let's go to questions because I don't want to kill everybody with our time, even though this tape over your lips has won for the book.
I know. I'm gonna leave this right here. Right there. Okay. What do you think of setting habits versus setting goals first? I find planning your habits is more effective than concentrating solely on goals. What do you think of that, Trace?
Well, it's all verbiage kind of. So to me, I don't know if you've read the book by James Clear, Atomic Habits. That is something that when people are joining into my wellness groups, I have them read that book because it is an incredible book for incorporating things into your life that you want to have in your life, which to me is a goal. So, it's hard for me when a word like a habit versus a goal. A habit is something that you do all the time, repetitively and all the time and regularly. Yeah. And a goal is something that you want to achieve. I kind of think of that as, and so I think of having an overarching, what's the word I'm looking for? But if you're looking for something that you're
thinking mindset?
Yeah, well, like if you want to achieve something, that's what you're going for, right? But your goals are going to help you achieve that. It's not like that's what we learned about in fitness, right? Don't you see people who they finish their 90 days or their 6-week program or their month program or whatever it is, and then they're like, now what? I only had this blocked out that I was just going to do this, instead of saying like, overall, I want to live healthy. And these 90 days are going to help me get there. And then this 90 days are going to help me get there. And I'm going to set a whole bunch of little goals that are going to help me overall get to what I want for my life. So I think it's important to have goals that we set for ourselves and our lives, that are going to help us overall achieve what we really want our lives to stand for. But I also think it's important that habits are part of your goals. Your habits help you live out, again, what you want for your life. So first or not, I feel like, I don't know about the order of that, but I don't think there's anything wrong with planning out your habits to achieve a goal. And if that's what you need to start with, then that's great.
I think you're right. It's semantics, really. I mean, you set a goal with the hope that whatever you achieve will now become habitual. Now will become a permanent, but a lot of it for you to get there, for when you set the goal, like I know a lot of people set it and they don't even get close to achieving it, is because their intentions were wrong, their strategies were wrong. The mentor that they were working with wasn't the authentic person that you were talking about before. So there's and by the way, a lot of times you have this intention to set a goal and you're doing everything right. And then you get partway through and go, this doesn't mean anything to me anymore. And then, then there's that 6-month period where you're beating yourself up, or there's that 2-day period where you go, oh, okay, well, I'll just do another one. I mean, I have 23 failed businesses. My goal was to have all of them work.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And like your sign behind you, right? Like, I love what it says back there. Sometimes you win and sometimes you learn.
Right.
She's just tattoo that backwards on your forehead and walk around. That's basically.
Please don't, everyone. Please don't.
Yeah,
but
right.
At the same time, it's the same thing as when people are like, I started this, so I've got to finish it, even though I hate it. And I think to myself, if I want to live healthy, but I'm hating this, I'm going to give myself permission to say, this is not in line with what I want to do. And I'm okay to let this business die, to let this workout plan not work for me and find what works. You used to teach on that all the time, Tony, is like, find what sparks your joy. That Marie Kondo book, I think of that all the time. I get rid of things in my house. I do things now. It comes with age, I think, and maturing in my mindset of, if that doesn't bring me joy, if that doesn't, like I said, we all have to wash our toilet. That doesn't necessarily bring me joy, but you know what? Having a clean toilet does bring me joy. So I have to do the dirty work to get what I ultimately want. So do you have to work out even though you might not love it? Yeah. Do you want to eat foods that you might not love the flavor of them, but find a creative way that you can eat it okay because of what it does for your brain, or what I just had this whole conversation with my teenage son. Don't get me started about kale. Like, you know what it does for your body.
You got to put lemon juice in there, and you got to it takes a little effort there.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's
kale out of the ground. Terrible.
I mean, we aren't making a salad out of kale necessarily, but we can warm it and we can put garlic and olive oil and make it a little bit more palatable for you. But for what it does in your brain and your body, let's get this in your body. So anyway, I feel like we answered that question pretty good. I hope.
The one thing I want to add is that you said it, like, you get rid of things. Like I watch that show Hoarders, because I'll binge Hoarders.
I love that show too.
And you just think it's such a metaphor for so many people. It's not about, when you're hoarding things, there's certain people that hoard physical things and bags and garbage and stuff, and 1,500 pairs of jeans that they don't wear anymore, right? But it's sort of a metaphor for how people go down that rabbit hole of holding on to things that no longer work for them. And what is it about you as an individual where you can begin to let go? Right. You have to okay, it's easy for you to ask a simple question: is this part of my life going well or not? The answer is either yes or no. And chances are that when you say no, you're holding on to something. It's not necessarily, whatever it is in your garage that's been in there, so you can't even park your car anymore. You know what I mean? It's something about your behavior, something about your thinking, some kind of a mindset that just isn't working anymore. And everything that you spoke to today, to me, felt like, are you willing, at no matter what age, are you willing to let go and be open to some new ideas and some new strategies and some new thoughts, which is going to feel awkward and weird because everybody knows that transformation's a bitch, whether it's physical, mental, or emotional. But do you want to have discipline? Do you want to have willpower? Do you want to have a decent work ethic? Are these things that you like? I could say all three of those things and everybody goes, yeah, those are good things to have. Do they take effort? Yes. To hoard stuff and bad ideas, that's easy. But then again, that puts you in a mindset in a place where you're generally unhappy and unhealthy. So, I mean, that's why, reading a book all right, next question.
Okay.
I'm a director in healthcare. Recent issues have me working. I can help you with this one. Working long hours and dealing with stress. I'm skipping my health time. Suggestions for reprogramming myself to get through. How do you want to answer that?
Oh, I'm going to answer.
Because you have a business and you're an entrepreneur and you travel the world and you have 6 kids. Do you miss workouts? You don't?
No, although sometimes I do when it's like I need sleep more because, you need sleep. You really need sleep. And your body, your mind, things heal in rest. And I think you can answer this question. And it's not like, oh, for the next 3 weeks, this applies. It's a day-to-day decision for you. If you're like, today, I need to not do the workout because I need more sleep. This isn't like for the next month and a half, I'm giving up the workouts because I need to rest. You do need to rest, but you can, I'll let Tony go into, like, you can afford 30 minutes of rest, of exercise. You can find a way to, it's good for your heart. It's good for your mind. It's good for your attitude. It's good for your just feeling like you control something in your life when things are crazy. And you can't tell me, and I know this because I have dear friends. We have friends who are doctors in the ER, people who own their own practices, people who have all sorts of crazy schedules, people who are accountants who this is their busy time of year. And they're working long, 70-hour weeks, months on end. But you have to be able to carve out a time for yourself because you can't lose yourself and your life in the process. You have to still be a priority. And so I think it is perfectly okay. I travel for work. A lot of times I travel internationally. I travel and I always bring something. You've got workouts on your phone. You've got workouts that people can log into and they can do. You can bring it with you wherever you go. And so in this modern day, every hotel has Wi-Fi. I mean, I've been in Paraguay, poor areas of Paraguay, and they have Wi-Fi. So you can do something, you can print out something, you can do something that is for you. I will roll out of bed, wake up early, roll out of bed. I will barefoot in my hotel room sometimes and just quick get in 20 minutes sometimes just to clear my head, because working out helps me stay grounded. It helps clear the clutter from my brain. It helps me feel energized. It takes money to make money. It takes energy to make energy. And even when you are so exhausted, the last thing you do feel like doing is working out. I feel like I know, and you'll eventually know this, but trust me, I know that I will do better in that meeting at 3:00 in the afternoon if I have gotten my workout in, because I will have created some energy that my body starts burning for the rest of the day. So when my butt is sitting in a chair come 3:00 in the afternoon, rather than me just continually getting tired and getting another coffee, I know I've created something in my body that's going to sustain me, that is natural, that is what my body's made to do and designed to do. And it helps me. So that's my part as a traveling work person. Let me just give you also permission if you need permission. Sometimes we need to give ourselves permission. You are a priority. You need to be a priority. And yes, your work is important, but you don't live. What is the thing? You don't live to work. I mean, what is it? You don't live to work, you work to live.
Work to live. Yeah.
Yeah. So your life is important. And just, you might have a great, important job in healthcare. You should be an example of health, of putting your health first in healthcare. And so my permission to you is, if you need it, it's okay for you to make yourself a priority. And if it means you go in a little 15 minutes later than you normally would because you made yourself a priority, you should be a priority for yourself.
The one thing I would add is, and a lot of people don't have this in place, and I talk about this all the time, obviously, is their exercise is a burden, and it's physically painful, and it's easy to avoid it, especially because other things become a priority. You know what I mean? Like making money and paying my bills and feeding my kids and, working in healthcare and helping other people, that all becomes a priority. But you're right, Traci. If you focus on yourself, which is the nature of what your whole conversation was first, then you become a higher quality human being. You interact with people better. You have the energy and enthusiasm to be able to tackle everything you have to do. And I think the reason why a lot of people are struggling is because they don't have three things in place. They don't have their purpose, their plan, or they're not accountable. So, a lot of people are exercising for all the wrong reasons, and they all feel like they got to compete with the past. Like a friend of mine showed up on a Sunday. He says, "Oh my God, we're going to do that rope, beam, peg thing. I don't know if I can do it." I said, "Don't compete with the past. See what happens." Like if that doesn't happen today, so what? But you take all the pressure off yourself by just saying, I'm going to be in the moment. I got a brand new program called the Power of Four. We have stop options throughout the Power of Four. Sometimes the workout's an hour. You look at that workout without the stop options, it's like, I'm not going to do that. But you get one at 20 minutes, you get one at 40 minutes. And if you want to do the whole hour and you have that time, then you do it. Right. And so your purpose should be, I want to feel better. I want to be stronger. I want to be more flexible. I know all these things aren't going to happen in the course of the workout. It's going to take multiple workouts over the course of time to be able to see those physical, mental, and emotional changes. But that's all part of the routine. So my job is to show up today. Like do I want to do yoga on a Friday morning at 8:30 with my friends? Typically not. But when I'm lying in Shavasana, I always feel the same. I always feel 100% better than I did if I had skipped it. It's just that knowing, intellectually that if you show up, there are so many things that are happening in your inside your organs, inside your intestines, inside of your brain, inside your tendons, muscles, and everywhere else that are shifting for the better. Totally. That's my purpose. Your plan is, you write it down in advance. You let everybody know, this is what I'm doing at these hours. Nobody gets to schedule anything ever, as important as things are, during the time frame in which I've already predetermined what I'm going to do physically. Mm-hmm. And then accountability is, and maybe you don't have the right people in your life, but maybe they're not in your house, or they're not in your neighborhood, or they're not, maybe they're on the internet. A lot of people seem to find them that way. I have dozens of people that are on these separate email lists about, let's go. And during the pandemic, nobody was working out here. We were all doing it online. We were all breaking out laptops and figuring it out. You know what I mean? It has to be, if it's priority 7 or 8 or 19, not going to happen. It's kind of got to be priority 1 or 2.
Yeah.
And then when you move it up the ladder like that, then it's automatic. That's who you are. It's never skipped. I agree. That's my thing.
I agree with all of that.
What is the most important part of your daily routine, and why? How does it influence the rest of your day?
You want me to answer that?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think it's determining what are the things that fuel you and your purpose and your passion the most. So for me, I have determined that is my workout, that is my time where I read my Bible, and that is my time where I read a book or listen to a podcast that stretches and grows me. So it's all about growing me. And that whole thing, it's so funny because I am one of the co-hosts of the Maxwell Leadership Podcast. And we just literally yesterday, Mark Cole and I just talked about leading yourself with John Maxwell. And so it was all about, what are taking care of yourself. And one of the things we talked about is how on the airplane where they say, before you help somebody, you put on your own air mask first. If we should lose pressure in the cabin, put on your own air mask and then help the child or elderly person or person who needs help next to you. And it doesn't mean that you're more important than they are, that you devalue them. It's, I can help somebody better when I am operating at optimal oxygen. I am not a good person to think straight. I barely can think straight as it is. I need full oxygen to be thinking and helping someone else straight. So I think of myself as like, I need to fill my cup, and only you can determine what fills your cup, so that I operate from abundance and not scarcity. I need to operate from a place where I don't feel run down and exhausted and grouchy and like, oh my gosh, I got to do this. I haven't even had time for myself yet. And honestly, too many moms do that. And they feel guilty when they take care of themselves. And I have to say I think my mom was a good example of that. My sister certainly was. I never had that feeling that I felt guilty for taking care of myself. I knew that I needed good sleep. That's the other thing. I'm a big on sleep person. I need at least 7 hours of sleep. I do a ton in the day. I have 2 different like full-time jobs that I do, both for Maxwell Leadership and running my coaching business. But I can do anything if I have a full night of sleep. And so I was always somebody, I think it's the American way that it's like, stay up late and burn the candle at both ends, stay up late and get up early. That is not me. I'm useless if I don't have the amount of sleep. I'm a very early to bed person. I'm ready for bed very early. I'm not a night person at all, but I'm up very early. I'm a morning person. And so I make sure that I have good sleep. I drink my water. I get up. I will have a little cup of coffee. I'll drink my water and I take some medicine that I have to take first thing in the morning because I had to have my thyroid out. I had thyroid cancer, which again, you can't keep terrible things from happening to you. I'm grateful that I don't have cancer today, but I did have cancer, and I'm grateful that I went through this whole thing with having my thyroid removed, and then having a right mindset about myself, when for probably 5 years as we tried to get my medicine right, I couldn't lose any weight and my body didn't do what it was supposed to do. And that was really difficult because I was used to my body doing a certain way. I was very disciplined in my eating, and suddenly my body looked like I wasn't disciplined in my eating. But I had to have it be about more than about how I looked. It had to be about my health, because it was about my health now more than ever. And I had to trust that my body would regulate now that I had this new norm, and I had to just keep taking care of myself, even if it didn't show up yet, until things regulated. And so taking care of me first thing in the morning, and then I'm set for the day. I feel like my tank is filled up and I'm ready to zoom into my day. So that's me. What about you, T?
What about me?
Yeah.
Ooh.
What about yours? Somebody asked about Strength Finder, and I got to look and see if I've got that. I forget.
What is the most important part of my day and routine, and how does it influence the rest of your day? Like you, back in the old days when I was with Beachbody, things were pretty predictable. I mean, it was still a lot of work, and you had to kind of be on, and especially if there were live events. And, you and I went on a couple, we went on our retreats. I've been to 63 military bases, and I've been in Washington, been to the Pentagon, been to Japan, been to Korea, you know what I mean? Like, so there was those periods of my life. And, just being on camera quite often, doing various things. So, my job was the basics, and the basics were always, and they were pretty ground in. It was pretty locked in, I should say. My diet and my lack of alcohol and my hydration. My sleep was the one thing that got in my way sometimes, because I like being up late, and it's not ideal, especially if you have to get up early. But, 8 times out of 10, I kind of nailed that thing. And when I did, I was able to kind of, be the person I wanted to be, not only for myself, but for others. And so, it really, like, for example, I had, I have my new supplement line called Power Life, and there was a crew here, and we shot not 1, but 18. Hold on. Hello.
That is so funny.
So come in.
Someone is buzzing.
Okay. I'm on. Okay, come on in.
This is what it is to talk to Tony.
Yeah. I don't even know what he said, but I let him in. He's probably out there with a machete. I have no idea.
Yikes!
I don't know.
Oh my gracious!
But here's what's interesting, and I will say this, And this also goes to the gal who's dealing with some stress and finding it hard to exercise. When I don't exercise and when I don't eat right, when I don't eat super clean, I mean, I've been vegan for 2 years. I don't even know if you knew that, Traci. I've been like,
Oh, no, you're back again, huh?
Yeah. No wheat, no soy, no corn, no dairy, no fish, no meat, no chicken. Except for in Jackson Hole, I had some elk medallions because they were unbelievable and I had to eat them. So I'm not really pious about it, right? I'm not myopic about it. I just, for the most part, that's how I do it. And when I do that, I can do anything. I mean, I wake up with that energy. I feel rested. I'm ready to go. And typically in my life, I'm always doing something for the first time. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Every time I have to do a gig or be in front of a camera, it's not like, okay, I'm going to read the same thing. It's like a newsman. The news is different every day. He's sitting there and he's trying to deal with that. And I mean, I shot 18 segments here at the house. And wow. It was going to start at 10:30 and the dead time was 3:00. And I emailed folks, I go, you want me to do 18 segments? And there's no way. And they said, hey man, if you don't finish them, then we'll pick it up another day. And so, okay, all right, 18. So I just, I got my sleep. I did everything right. I got up and I finished an hour and a half early.
That's amazing.
One of them was 20 pages. So, I mean, if you're not eating right and you're drinking too much alcohol and you're eating too much refined carbs, all these things affect the way you function the following day. You might not, you can do everything right. You're not going to see a lot of aesthetic changes. That's just going to come. That's why P90X was not called P23X. We're going to give you 90 days to do this thing. And some people it took even longer. All right. So it's time and patience, keeping your expectations down and showing up and having some kind of a plan and doing the simple things that you know to do. But everybody falls into bad habits and that's normal. I want to have a Coca-Cola and I want to have a double cheeseburger I want to have a double chimichanga and I want to stay up late and party with my friends and have a 6-pack. Right. And all those things are great when you're younger and you have no responsibilities and you got a cheap rent. But as you get older, your body will age 3 times faster, 4 times faster than if you don't make those changes. And I'm just talking about dietary changes and physical changes. Traci's conversation tonight with all of us was taking it to the next level to improve yourself, understand yourself, learn about yourself, ask others how they relate to you so you can better relate to them. Start to take in information through audiobooks or regular books so that you can automatically transform by the time you get to that last page of that whatever that book is. All that information is going to give you something to think about. And then also know that there are certain people who proclaim to be X, Y, and Z and aren't, and understanding sooner than later that maybe that those folks aren't the folks you want to have in your life, and making that. And it's tough because you get like, oh, he's the one or she's the one. They're gonna, oh, you're awful and you're irreverent and you're mean and your stuff is not real. It doesn't relate to me even, So these are things that you have to do. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's kind of a all over the place answer. I do want to get to one more, Mary here. We'll get to Shell too. Mary says, did the question that I put in the other chat, I don't know what the other chat was, get to you? Here it is. I'm wondering whether Traci would be willing to post in Power Nation the photos of the books on her bookshelves, things that you think will be great value. So there's two groups. There's the Power Nation Facebook group. Now this is a limited group of people that went through all beta 1, beta 2, beta 3, beta 507.
Okay. And
it's a closed group. There's no one else is allowed in it. And these are the people that helped me basically create
exclusive.
Yeah, very. And then there's also the Power of 4 group, which anybody who joins the Power of 4 can get in there and play. But the Power Nation one is sort of, these are my children. All right. These are my people. These are folks that I know by first name. These are people that show up at all my events. Mary's here at my house often, working with Sean and working with me.
Aww.
At one point, she was a total stranger, and like you, she is another version of you, and she's absolutely wonderful. And then Shell before her, they came to my Ted and Tony retreat in Jackson a short while ago. She's saying, who is the author of Strength Finder? Who is that author?
So here's the book of Strength Finder, Tom Rath. As you can see,
yeah,
it's all tabulated, and I teach on that. So Tom Rath, and That's a great book. And it comes with a little code in it. It's unique to every book. You have to buy the book in order to get the
Code
assessment online, the code. Also, I want to say to Mary, have you written a book on the topic with the 5 pillars? No, but that's what I want to write. I want to write a book on the 5 pillars of leading yourself. So I'll let you know when I do that. And then I wanted to say I'm willing. So I have many bookshelves. This bookshelf, if you could see, those are all, John Maxwell has written over 100 books, and that's his complete library. Most of them, his complete library of books that are autographed. I wanted to have like everything he's ever written and continues to write, because he just is releasing another one. So that's that. But I did write a book on.
You did? I want to see that book, Traci Morrow.
It's on the five C's of communication in real life marriage. And this is called Navigating Your Beautiful, Messy, One-of-a-Kind Love Story. And to be honest, a lot of the assessments that I talk about here, this is for however long if you've been married, if you have been married for 30 years like me, I have a friend who's been married for 28 years. And she's like, Traci, I just used one of the tools that you talked about, and it helped us navigate a fight we've had for forever, so much faster than we've ever done it. And then, and whether you're engaged or thinking about getting engaged, whether or not you should, some people are trying to decide, should we break up or should we get engaged, or whether or not you're newly married or whatever. This book is all the tools from every kind of book I picked up, everything I found, assessments included. So these assessments that we talked about, to help Casey and I figure one another out. And I give all the examples of mess ups and how we blow it, because I felt like a lot of books gave too much of a Pollyanna view about marriage. And I felt like every book I read, I thought, okay, well, maybe we suck because ours is way more messy. If you read a book, they navigated an argument, and it sounded like that was the only time they ever argued about that issue, and it was solved once and for all, and it was solved really fast and respectfully, and everybody said the right things the first time. And that wasn't the way it was for us. And so I wanted to show a book of how to navigate and this navigating your beautiful, messy, one-of-a-kind love story, because no two marriages are the same. And my whole thing is like, at least you'll see our mess, and you're going to see the differences and how we figured it out. But we figured it out because we did love each other, and we wanted a marriage for life, but we did not know what the heck. We needed tools. And so this book has tools. So Real Life Marriage, and you can find it on Amazon. But it's like the 5 things that we learned and practice still to this day. So it's not like you get married for 20 years and suddenly you get more advanced tools. No, it's the same. Just like with your relationships with yourself, you just practice the same things as you grow, and the next version of yourself uses those tools a little bit differently, and you evolve and grow as a person, and you use them a little bit more maturely with each time. So the first time you use these relational tools that we talked about, it's going to be clunky. It's like Tony said, it's going to be awkward. You're going to feel like a poser. You're going to feel like you're saying scripted lines that don't at all feel like what you feel inside. You're going to be saying things that are the right things, but it's not how you feel. Well, here's a news alert. You shouldn't always say what you feel, because sometimes what you feel is rude. And sometimes what you say is hurtful. Is mean.
Yeah.
Is mean. And you can't always, like my mom used to say, you can act your way into a feeling. Like when you act right, then you start to feel a little bit better about yourself. But you can't, if you wait till you feel like you want to be kind to that person, you could wait all year and you might not ever feel like you want to be nice to that person. She's like, it's hard to feel your way into an action, but you can act your way into a feeling. And that meant like, do the right thing, whether you feel like it or not. Do what you feel is the right thing in that situation. Practice these tools in the situation, whether it feels natural or not. And then it starts to become natural. And now I can say, like, we've been married for 33 years this year. And we've said so many times, we're grandparents now. And we think like, imagine if we had given up on this. Imagine if we had given up when it got hard. We would be missing out on this amazing season of life, where just the other night I said to Casey, we were watching a show, and I said, what was that thing out of the blue? what was that thing? And he goes, oh, it was this. I said, what? You know, you've been together a long time when I say, what was that thing? And you know what I'm saying based on the tone of what I said. And you answered me exactly what I was talking about. And it's just this whole thing of like, you have to do the hard work first. Sometimes, Tony said he and Shauna, it's a 10-minute thing and it's over. It wasn't always for us. For us, sometimes we didn't talk to each other for the whole night. Of course, I got married when I was 20. So that was a different story. There was a lot of immaturity and we had to grow up together. But it's also like, sometimes it wasn't as resolved as quickly, but we did practice it. And so we learned. And so anyway, that's what that book is about. And it was part of my growth too. So though you got Strength Finders, yes, about the pillars. And that's all of our questions. I just want to say, Tony, thank you. Thank you to all of you who stayed. Thank you to those of you who showed up for this. I'm happy to go in and give some of the books in Power Nation. If that's what you want me to do, Tony, I'll do whatever you want me to do. But it's my honor to do anything that you are a part of, because I love and I respect you and Shauna. I'm just for you, and anything you're a part of, I would sign off on it in a heartbeat. I just think you're one of the best people I know, and I just love and appreciate you.
Well, it's mutual. There's no doubt about it. And I know we haven't, because you've been busy and you've got 2 careers and you've moved to Colorado. So I don't see you as much, but it's really nice. I mean, we've had another conversation earlier today, a pretty lengthy one as well. It's nice to see as we've gotten older, and this is about you, is just to see how you were amazing when I met you. I mean, you were like this spark. You were like the sun, I had never met anybody quite like you. I mean, here's this person I hardly knew. Let's go travel the country and do these events together. Fun. I mean, I didn't even question that. Like, I don't know, what's this woman? What are her scruples? Like, what is she all about? It wasn't even like, you were, I mean, even though you had some difficult times with your health and other aspects of your life, you were always open-minded. You were always willing to grow. You were inherently, a very upbeat, positive person without having to force it or fake it. You know what I mean? But then, just to see, just throughout the day, the earlier conversation in this one, it's just amazing to see how much further you've come and who you've become and how many people you've helped along the way. It's just a stunning, and I'm thrilled, and I'm thrilled to have met you and to be able to still have this tremendous relationship. And I just want to say to everybody who's looking in here as we're finishing up, is that I told you so. I told you who she was and what she would bring. And I hope you took your notes. I'm looking at the chat room over here. I don't know why I'm looking at names. I hope you did take some notes and take some things in and practice, because you can see that Traci is everything I said she is, plus 1,000% more. She's authentic and she's real and she's honest and she's thoughtful and she's altruistic and she's a beautiful person inside and out, without a doubt. And, I was, last thing I want to say is, you look at Ebenezer Scrooge, right? Like, you look at that character, right? I mean, where that person is at that stage of his life, and some dramatic lessons were learned in the course of an evening to turn that person around. Now, I know it's a fable, but that whole fable was to basically say to us, no matter who we are and how tough things are and how locked in we are, if you want to let go and you want to open up your mind and and you're willing to learn from, if you showed up here tonight and, other than my rambling, I think there was some good, a lot of value here, at least what Traci brought to it. And, I've had some struggles as well. As a C- student with a speech that had Ramsay Hunt syndrome and couldn't get out of bed three months. A lot of people who have what I have are still struggling, years later, but, and it's a battle sometimes, but you get up, you hope to do some of the right things. You hope to have those, the upbeat, positive, wonderful conversations where you learn something and you take that from day to day, to week to week, to the end of time. I mean, I have peers of mine in their 60s that I know of they're done, it's just, they're old, they're super old, and they think like old people. They can't move, they can't go anywhere, and they can't ski, and they live through their children and grandchildren. And I don't know, I think everybody here wants more than that.
Yeah.
And I think tonight we added a lot of value. So Traci Morrow, you're the bomb diggity, as Snoop Dogg would say.
Well, I love you so much and I appreciate you. And it's been my joy to spend this time with you and your people.
Thank you. And Traci and I, people are asking how Sean is doing. Traci and I are thinking about maybe doing a little retreat again down the road, maybe 2023, who knows? It'd be fun to just go, like, take a dart and throw it at a city and say, hey, we're going to be somewhere.
That would be so fun.
Yeah. And we had version of those here. We had Paragon here, but that's a pretty elaborate thing. We'll just be in a room telling stories and doing some workouts and having some fun like we used to. It'd be great to do that again. So, hope so. Traci, thank you. Best to you and the family. And say hello to everybody. I want a family photo. I want to see the two youngins, some shot of those. Actually, I got the Christmas card. Amazing.
Yeah. Thank you.
You've done so much. You're a star. Thank you, my love.
Thank you. Love you too.
I'm glad that you've really enjoyed this interview. I can tell because you're watching it, because I can see you. Anyway, since you're here, I know you're really going to fall madly in love with this next one. I mean, I'm talking about knowledge consumed by you. All you got to do is go right over there,